the Simgot EW 300 DSP. Let's talk about it. Now, this was purchased with my own money from Linsoul. Tried to get a sample, but nobody got back to me. So I only have this one DSP unit, as according to many reviewers, this is the best one. And I think this can present excellent value. So let's start by talking about the build quality of this lovely IM, and then we'll kind of go from there. The shell of this IM is tiny, it's easy to fit, it doesn't have a wing and ear, so it doesn't really fit well, but it's clean, it's small, it looks good. I love the color. I think the nozzle is a fair and reasonable size. I think, again, it's basically a Simgot EW 200 if you've experienced that. A lot about the same size as the Aria 2. Its nozzle's a reasonable size, and you can fit ear tips on this well. Absolutely no wing if that's something you're looking for. So fit for me is okay, but it's small and it's durable. And I kind of like the shell design of it. I think it's kind of a cool X and O sort of a thing. Recessed 2-pin cable connector, which is, it's fine, but there are certain flat 2-pin cable connectors you can't fit. So it's kind of good and bad, depending on what you want to think. But, it's a nice looking shell. There you go. The DSP cable. I like this DSP cable. It has a Velcro cinch for the cable tie. I mean, the cable feels nice. It's like a single strand, not too exciting. Nice Y split. Has a little volume control here. Again, the cable connectors are cool because they do have a red and blue on them, so you can kind of see what's going on. Very nice cable. At least it comes with a case. It's a nice case. You have a lot of, like nozzles and filters. I mean, the ear tips are also there. Not too exciting. So, let's talk about the sound. How would I characterize the sound? Overall, good upper mids, but they're a little bit too much. Nice bass shelf. Overall, reasonable sound with decent air, and overall, not a bad IM, but it's kind of one of those IMs that it's nice. It has a nice curve. It has a DSP cable with it. It's a very reasonable price, but it's not overly exciting and a little bit drab. Let's look at some graphs and kind of go from there. All right, let's look at the graph. I mean, the graph is pretty good. It has nice bass. It does have quite a bit of upper mids, which is, kind of a concern, which is a little bit more like if we look at something like the Aria 2 and just kind of compare what this looks like, you'll notice that the Aria 2 has about that same presence, and that's just kind of interesting. It does have a nice bass shelf for people that like that extra bass. It's very nice, and so it does some things well, but it does dip kind of a little bit in the air region, and some of the extra details are a little bit dark. But overall, it's a nice looking curve, a nice graph. And again, the upper mids kind of reminds me a little bit of the Aria 2 in many ways. One thing this is going to be compared to is the EW 200. Simgot's hit a lot of flack because a lot of people consider their IEMs a little bit V-shaped and kind of a little bit fun-shaped. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's kind of something to note. I mean, if you like the Simgot EW 200, or you can find one used and you think that's a good value and it's something you love, I don't know if you need to upgrade to the EW 300. I don't think the differences is that much. Again, this certain region right here can actually be kind of nice. But for me, you have to know where you're sensitive to. But for me, I think the EW 300. It's okay, but it's also basically double the price of the EW 200, which is kind of a concern for a lot of things. As we look, I want to show this. This is the only other DSP IM that I have graphed is the Moondrop Critical Dusk DSP. You notice they have some similar trends in the bass, but the EW 200 has way more upper mids, and so it'll come across kind of sparkly. And so that kind of makes it feel a little bit more, a little bit more popping in vocals. but it's, you know, it's overall just not a bad set, but you're not going to get as much bass energy that you will out of the Critical Dusk DSP. Again, it depends on what you want. I think the Critical Dusk DSP is a little bit more sophisticated and refined sound for those that don't want as much treble gain. It's not as possibly shouty. Whereas the Simgot EW 300, I wouldn't call it shouty, but it does have a way more energy for people. It is something that's a little bit more like trying to be vocal centric and just a different approach overall. If we look at something like, again, like the Super Mix 4, like the Super Mix 4, I think it has really nice extension and air. I think the Super Mix 4 has some issues, but for me, the Super Mix 4 fits better. I think if you have a Super Mix 4, you obviously don't need to upgrade to the DSP. But I think one of the issues I had with the Super Mix 4 was the cable. It felt kind of had some microphonic issues. And what I found when I cable swapped it, it just did better. It was almost night and day. And so one of the reasons for that, I think the DSP can offer good value. Like if you have neither of these IEMs, you're kind of thinking between the two, the DSP does offer some awesome value. Despite it not being an absolutely perfect sounding IEM, it is a good sounding IEM that I think does improve on the EW 200 in a significant manner. Another one to look at is the Truth Ear Hexa. You'll notice this has a little bit of that more pristine upper mids, kind of like a JN1 style, a little bit less bass. So if you're worried about too much bass and you have the Hexa, or you're thinking about the Hexa might be the way to go. I personally like the bass of the EW 300. I find it really satisfying in my library and what I listen to. And so for me, like the Simgot EW 300 offers great value for people that are in that, you know, $80 to $100 region that are looking for something and are curious. The problem we have though is that there are a lot of IEMs that are even cheaper, like something like the KZ EDC Pro. Even more bass, a little bit less sparkly upper mids, a little bit more 8K energy, which I don't really find myself sensitive to. So the KZ EDC Pro, I mean, if you're just looking for budget, it's kind of hard for me to really justify the EW 300. I think it's a good set. I think it's a fine set. But I think there's a point where it's like, if there's cheaper options that are pretty close, maybe go for that way, or maybe just save up for something that's really cool. It just kind of depends on what you need and what you want. Another one I really like, the Critical 02s, basically same bass shelf, a little bit less upper mids. I mean, for me, you know, this is like a $20 IEM that has a very similar fit, very small. I don't know. It's hard for me to see a huge, massive amount of value here unless you feel like you need the DSP IEM for what your situation is. I mean, personally, I would recommend a little bit of EQ. This EQ I just did with straight up squiggling, gave a little bit more sub bass, a little bit less of that presence and mid treble region, and I thought it just sounded just a little bit better. And I feel like with the DSP cable, they could have done a little bit more with the tuning. It felt a little bit lackluster, but again, it's not bad. Just a little bit recessed in the air and not super exciting in that regard. All right, let's talk value of this. I do think the EW 300 is nice. I think it has nice bass. I think its mids are a little bit too much and its highs aren't too exciting. I think as far as technicalities go, yeah, they're pretty good at image as well. It has good note weight, but its soundstage feels really dead. I feel it's because the air and treble is not that great. Its resolution is also just kind of okay. It's a solid IEM. It's a fun IEM. And I think for people who need a DSP IEM for any reason, that this could be a strong value, but it's just one of those ones that I think is a good value. I want to see more DSP IEMs out there with a little bit more pristine tuning and a little bit more pristine fit. I feel like this is a good kind of a banger set to give to maybe a kid or maybe to take with you to work. I find this might be something that could really be of great value to a lot of people because the DSP option. But if it didn't have the DSP option, this definitely would probably be like a 1, maybe 2-star IEM. But if the DSP is something you're looking for, I do think it is a fun tuning. I do think it's a nice build quality. but I still wish the EW300 was a little bit cheaper. And I really don't like it when you have 3 IEMs coming out at the same time. It reminds me a lot of the Zigat Syncotrace and Da Cinco. I mean, I get it, but why not stagger them a little bit or something? It's just kind of lame when IEMs come out at the same price with slightly different tunings, because I know a lot of people have a hard time deciphering which one of those two would be for them. The Simgot EW300. Nice DSP, nice little case. I mean, if you compare like getting a $50 dongle DAC versus this, I could see value in it. But I mean, if you need a USB-C port, there is such thing as an Apple dongle USB-C port, which works fine. And I've used that at work for a long time and I have no problems with it. Again, I do think this has strong tuning that might justify the price for some people as an easy all-in-one package. But I don't find this to be something that you need to rush out and buy if you have more expensive stuff. If you like the design, if you find value in the USB-C cable, I mean, go for it. I think this is close to a lot of the things out there, and it provides a nice little sonic quality of a sound for its price. But with stuff like, you know, the Linsoul, you know, S08 or the Heidi's, you know, MP143, you get some nice benchmarks around 80. Sometimes IEMs that are even cheaper could work for you. Oftentimes it is hard to see value in the budget space. And for me, this is one of those ones where I don't mind it. But I mean, if I had to push up the envelope of where I would want to go, I probably would go to something like the Apple Explorer. I really like the Explorer. It's like $120. It's gone on sale already to $105. Has a really nice case and cable and tip selection, and it fits in my ear a lot better than this IEM. Again, I don't know. I mean, to me, you know, the Explorer would probably be my pick just because it provides a unique, interesting sound with great air. This just has a little bit too much upper mids, and it's almost like a try-hard. It's like trying to do too much in too many different versions. I personally think it's skippable, but if it's something that you're really after, it's not a bad way to go. Thanks for watching my review of the Simgot EW300 DSP. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a great day. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?